Hi boys and girls, it's Cooking with Miss Kathy again, and today we're going to make beignets. And I printed out a recipe from the Disney parks. It's Mickey Mouse beignets, but I don't have my Mickey Mouse cutter here with me, so we're just going to actually cut the recipe in half. And oops, can't see it. Well, I'm going to set it down. Here's the recipe, which I wrote it out, and I cut everything in half to make a smaller amount because I don't want to be eating a whole bunch of beignets with powdered sugar. So let's start the recipe. It calls for, and I'm going to use my recipe cut in half, a 1/4 teaspoon of active dry yeast, which I put in the bowl there, and 1/8 of a cup of warm water. I'm going to give my water a minute to get warm. It was just warm. All right, 1/8 of a cup. That's a small amount. So let's see if we can get it to 1/8 of a cup. There we go. And I'm going to add that to my yeast and let it sit for about 5 minutes or so. And I'm just gonna let that sit and dissolve for about 5 minutes. Okay, and while we have that, we're gonna put in our 2 cups of flour. There's one in there. There's the other cup. And 1 tablespoon of vegetable shortening right there. And I used the Crisco. And we're going to put in 1/8 of a cup of sugar. And it called for 1 egg, which I had to cut it in half. So let's see, I took 1 egg and I just beat it up. So let me see if I can get about half of that in there. You don't want the whole thing. Okay, that's good enough. About 1/2 an egg. And then we're going to add the heavy cream, and I have a 1/4 cup of heavy cream here. And we're just going to put all that in. And let's double check. Okay, the yeast and the warm water's in the bowl. I have my sugar, I have my vegetable shortening, I have my heavy cream, I have my 1/2 an egg, I have my 2 cups of flour. Oops, and I need 1/2 a cup or 1/4 of a cup of boiling water, which I have right here. All right, 1/4 of a cup of boiling water. Ugh. And let's see what happens if we mix it all up. And I do not have a mixer with a dough hook on it, so I'm just doing it the old-fashioned way with my hands and a spoon. And I think I'm going to take this little pastry cutter and try to mix it up like this and cut it all in together. All right, and it's been 5 minutes. My timer's going off. And I'm going to add my yeast mixture in there. And I'm going to keep on mixing. And boys and girls, remember to wash your hands for 20 seconds before you start cooking. And I've done that already. So let's see, we're just going to mix it up and get it into a ball. All right, boys and girls, there we did. We've kneaded it, we've worked it with our hands and made it into a ball. And now I'm going to just cover it up, and I'm going to set it in a little bit of a warm spot and just let it rest for 30 minutes. And then I'll be back. Okay, boys and girls, it has been 30 minutes and my dough has gotten a little bit bigger, not too much bigger, but a little bit. So I'm going to roll it out, and I'm going to just put down just a little bit of flour on my board. My hands are still clean. Ooh, it feels a little warm. And I'm not sure if we can get it into a square, but let's roll it out into about a 1/2 inch thick. And I don't have too much dough. I don't want it too thin. Okay, that looks pretty good right about there. And I don't have a cookie cutter, but traditionally beignets are the shape of a triangle, but I'm going to take my big knife, and boys and girls, if you're cutting, you use just a knife that's not, too sharp, and we're going to make some triangles. Let me get my big knife out of the way since I'm not using that, and I don't want it to fall on my foot. So I think we'll make triangles and squares. So I don't want to have to re-roll my dough. So I'm just going to have some odd shapes. Not too, I want them about that size. So we've got some triangles there, we've got a square there. Let me trim this one off a little bit. I'm going to use all the dough. I think we'll make, this is a rectangle, so let's cut this into about 3 squares. Well, 3 squares, and we're going to have a little bit left over. So after I cut these out, the recipe calls for frying them, dropping them into oil and deep frying them, but I'm going to try to bake them. So I'm just going to put them on my sheet here. I wanted them about the same size. Got some a little bit bigger than others. And maybe we could take these 3 little pieces and just smush them together and roll them into one little square so that we don't waste anything. All right, that's a little odd shaped, but we're gonna just put him on the pan there. So I've got all my beignets on a pan, and what I need to do now is just cover them up, and we're gonna let them rest for 1 hour. And then we'll be back. Okay, boys and girls, we got our beignets out of the oven and they're warm. And because I didn't fry them, and you need to put powdered sugar on them, and I don't have a brush, I'm just gonna put a little bit of butter on them as best I can here. And hopefully that'll make them a little bit sticky. So when I pour the powdered sugar on, it'll stick. Let's get them all. So a half a recipe makes, can you count the beignets with me, boys and girls? How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 beignets. All right, and after we put the butter on, we're going to take our powdered sugar and just cover them up with powdered sugar so they're nice and sweet. There we go. So my daughter is waiting to try one of the beignets. They're warm, but instead of frying them, I baked them, and that's how they turned out, golden brown. And I'm going to open one up so you can see the inside. Oh, they just look so yummy, and they're warm. Look at that steam. Oh, perfect. Wow, I can't wait to eat one. So have fun trying the recipe with your mom or dad or adult in the house, and enjoy your beignets. Yummy. Delicious.